Hello everyone, Mege here. So today's video is about my tier list of the various heroes in For Honor. Let me start right away by saying that, of course, tiers are very personal, very subjective. It's basically impossible to get a 100% agreed upon tier list by all the community. That's because there's gonna be some bias, of course, and different experience against various heroes. For example, someone might have never met an extremely good Highlander and might think Highlander is the worst character in the game. Anyway, so with that said, let's keep the discussion civil. I want to hear what you guys agree with, what you disagree with, but let's keep it civil. Since I know in these cases people tend to get very personal, you know, like, oh, my hero is not so strong, he's like D tier. Okay, so please, I know there's gonna be bias, whatever, let's keep it civil again and discuss this all together. So for those of you who don't care about any explanation and just want the full list right away, check the description and I left the full list as a picture in a link there. So I decided to split the tier list in 4 tiers. I think 4 is a good number and I'm gonna explain what they mean as we walk through them. Let's start with the S tier. S tier is where all the best heroes are, of course. If in case you don't know, S is the best, C is the worst, there is descending. And S tier is where there are heroes with so many tools, so many mechanics, which makes them clearly the best in the game, and they can really give you an edge when fighting players of the same skill level, and they're in general one step ahead, and I think they're very easy to identify. So do know that the tiers are ordered, so a hero placed there will be better than a hero placed there, but the difference between heroes of the same tiers is not as big and as significant as the difference between heroes of different tiers, so between an S and A hero. So the first hero, which I think is the most powerful, we're gonna go from the very best to the very worst, and I think it's Shaman. Some people might disagree with this, but I know a lot of you probably agree. So Shaman has just so many tools, every move in her kit is so useful and does so much damage considering how quick it is. I'm not gonna be super long on this explanation, but I think she's just so good, and mostly she has some mix-ups where she can basically force a reaction just like old Vortex. She can pounce forward, check for your reaction and act accordingly. She can catch rolls, for example, dodge forward, you roll, she gets a dash attack, or a late, I think even a late pounce. So yeah, I think she's best hero all around. Of course, she does have some problems, as in reflex guard being very short, but still I don't think this is enough to take her off the first spot in the tier list, the throne. So right behind Shaman we find Gladiator. So Gladiator also has fast attacks, overall good damage, nice mix-ups, but I think what really makes him so good is the broke zone attack, let's say, which is just in general way too safe, and you know, you can just cancel the first hit if you didn't hit with your shield. So I don't think something like this should be in the game at all. He's not on Shaman level, so because if you know to keep your distance from the zone attack, he does have a little more issues than Shaman, but he's still one of the best heroes all around. I'm placing Gladiator above our third pick, who is going to be PK, merely because he has ways to get through guard, which PK doesn't really, because he has toe stab and shield bashes and zone attack, which are unblockables, as well as the heavy into skewer, I think is the name, yes, skewer unblockable. So about PK, she is the last one of our S tier heroes. She is very good. Zone attack is so fast, we all know about zone attacks. Lead attacks are very good, she has great punishes in general, and it's a very great hero. I think her only issue is actually opening up defensive opponents, if she's not playing defensive herself, of course. So that's why she's placed at third. Don't think she's a bad hero, she's amazing. She's only placed at third because in comparison to Shaman and Gladiator, she cannot really open a fully defensive opponent who can just keep his guard right and react to every lead attacks whatsoever. So after the S tier we have the A tier. A tier is where I place the hero which have very powerful tools. So S tier heroes are very powerful all around. A tier heroes I think are very powerful because of some tools. So if played on those tools, they can still be very powerful. They can compete with S tier heroes, and they're still very viable in any 1v1 environment. So my first pick for the A tier, and this might be a little biased, is Shinobi. So why Shinobi? I think Shinobi is very safe. His dashes and his backflip make him very safe. He also has fast light attacks, and if you keep your cool you can kind of avoid most of it, but can't really quite punish him unless you are some heroes. I still think he's a very good hero, valid hero, and I'm not sure, I'm a little conflicted about his placement here. I still think he's A tier, maybe not the first, but you'll tell me. So my second placement in the A tier is Warlord, and as I said, A tiers are here because of one very powerful tools, and in Warlord case, that is Headbutt. So Warlord has good HP, Headbutt to open up defensive opponents, which is very important in the actual For Honor meta, of course. Good feints overall, a good zone attack, and he can play, you know, a defensive game, just open you up with Headbutt. He's in general a very powerful pick, dealing fairly good damage considering how tanky he is. So in the third spot, this might be very unpopular, we have Shugoki. So Shugoki doesn't have good offenses at all. Actually, his offense is pretty bad. Well, unless you abuse the unblockable icon flicker, but whatever. Shugoki is here because of his defensive capabilities. With his armor he can get a free guard break now and then. It's very risky to face a good defensive Shugoki, they are so dangerous. And at any time they can get a Wall Splat into Demon Embrace, and that can turn the game from like you being full health to dying if they're low on health. So yeah, I think Shugoki deserved this spot. I would have placed him lower until like some months ago, but after meeting very high level Shugoki, among them Sophie Face, she's probably the best Shugoki right now, I have to place him here. So the next spot in the A tier is for Raider. Raider is quite tanky, and while he doesn't have very good offensive options, he is very punishing. He does punish a lot, he has good light parry punishes, and his mix-up is dangerous, and he can also, while being tanky, counter guard break mid dodge, which is something really important, especially against some matchups. Again, I might be a little biased there because mid dodge counter guard break kind of fucks up with Warden, just like Shinobi backflip does. The last spot in the A tier is Centurion. So a lot of people feel like he's very bad after all the nerfs. Truth is, Centurion, while he's not very good offensively, you still have to be on your toes with the soft feints from heavies and the kick. The kick is very reactable, but you still have to be on your toes. And however, Centurion is here because of his huge punishes. He's huge, like if he gets you with an unblockable, that's for some heroes half your health right there. Or if he gets a light parry, which gives him a full charged heavy into a punch, into a knockdown, plunge attack, and Eagle Talon, I think that's the name. And his punishes are so good, I didn't feel like placing him lower than this. Okay, moving on from the A tier, we go to the B tier. And B tier is where heroes still have some qualities, but they are not good enough to give them such an edge in battle. So for example, Nobushi right here has some very nice tools. In her hidden stance, defensive hidden stance can be very good, and her zone attack is good for interrupting things. It's fairly fast and high damaging. She has huge damage in general, and some heroes cannot really punish her because she is long range. But despite all this, these tools are not as significant as the tools the heroes in the A tier have, and that's why they are placed in B. So after Nobushi, the second spot in the tier list is Berserker. Berserker has good lights, which are very fast from all directions. He's also an assassin, just like most of the top list right now, as you can notice. Being an assassin, he can kind of hide where his attack is gonna come from. So that, coupled with the fact that his light attacks animations are kind of subtle, hard to tell, makes his light attacks very good. He also has a fairly good zone attack, risky, but does quite some damage. However, he can't open any defensive opponents at all, any competent defensive opponent, not really going for parries. And thus, he's good, but he can't really make it to A, you know, he has these huge issues, which that's why I placed him in B. After Zerk, we have the last of the assassins, and Orochi. Orochi is a little weird. He has an amazing top light, which however is very predictable because that's kind of almost all he has. He also has a safe zone, safe fast zone, fairly normally damaging zone, but it's safe on block compared to Warden. And his top light is very damaging, is mostly used as a whiff punish or a punish in general, a read punish. And it still has the problem of not being really able to open up a defensive opponents, much like Zerk. and he's kind of limited to top light and zone attack. Everything else in his kit is kind of very bad. So after Orochi we have the big tanky boy, Conqueror. Someone teased me because I said Conqueror wrong in a video. Anyway, big tanky boy is sadly here. Yeah, he's in a weird spot because he has very favorable matchups. For example, Conqueror is good against Centurion, who is in A tier, but still this list doesn't really take matchups into account, and that's why I placed him here. In general, Conqueror is way too low. You can argue he has the forward dash into heavy. That's not intended. I did ask the developers about this, but even with that feat, he still can't really move from here. He might be, I don't know, maybe above these two here, but he does have quite some health. He gets guard breaks on a heavy block, which is very good, but he still cannot really do much, and it's way too low in general. The last spot in the B list is going to be Aramusha, which is, surprisingly low. I know a lot of you are having troubles with Aramusha, but once you get the hang of him having to use his chains with alternating side and top, and yeah, he does have soft feints and whatever, but still it makes him so much easier to just, turtle up against him. And in general, if he can't really start his chains, or he has troubles opening up anyone, his lights in neutral are fairly fast, but feel like very easily parried, maybe because of the animation. And he doesn't get an heavy on guard break, and yeah, so that's why I don't feel like placing him higher than this. I didn't place him in C because his mix-up, his soft feints and his zone attack unblockable are still pretty nice tools, but yeah, I don't think he deserves any better than this. And finally, we're moving to the C tier, where the worst heroes are, and again, you might feel I'm very biased there. So C tier is where are the heroes that rely on game fundamentals more than actual tools in their arsenal to win the matches, So the first hero in the C list is going to be my favorite boy, Warden. So many of you probably feel I placed him way too low. I might be biased, this is something I said a lot of times, but Warden honestly is in a very hard spot against competent players. So what he has is pretty much literally top light, which is good, but everyone can just block top. Zone attack is fast, but being unsafe on block for the little damage it does is not little, but it's not comparable to the damage you get if they simply block it, not parry it. They block your zone attack, they get a guard break, they get a ledge kill, they get a top heavy, they get anything, honestly. A Demon Embrace in Shugoki case, and it's usually really not worth the damage you will get with the zone attack. And yes, Shoulder Bash. Shoulder Bash is fairly good, however, a proper spacing opponent using back dodges, or when he's out of stamina, using also rolls, and when he's out of stamina, walking away, makes Shoulder Bash kind of moot, especially against assassins who can just back dodge for days and you can never catch them. After Warden we have Low Daddy. Low Daddy I think is pretty low on the duel list. I would place him much higher on a 4v4 list, but in a duel list Low Daddy has no way to open up opponents. He relies on shove mix-ups. He does have a lot of health, but in general, if you win with Low Daddy, it's because you are a better player than your opponent mechanically. Like, you manage to get those parries in. He has good parry damage, that's something he has going for him. After Low Daddy we have Valcke. Valcke is... she's pretty fast, pretty nice, but giving a guard break on the dodge attacks, and in general she gives big punishes while risking herself for moderate damage. And all of this while not being very damaging in general with her light attacks. So yeah, you get a parry on those lights and she hits a top heavy, and that's a lot of damage for her compared to what she's doing to you. So after Valcke we have Kensei, and you can guess who the last one is now. Kensei is so cool on paper, but sadly this kit doesn't quite work. He has overall good damage, good reach, so he can kind of play the spacing game. Yeah, you can do the superior block dash to get guard breaks in, but in general his tools kind of make him very bad against any turtling opponent, any defensive opponents, because his mix-ups is first thing pretty easy to negate altogether by just parrying him. You can see the Elm Splitter coming, or the Swift Strike, I think, is the name of the side dodge attack coming. And even if he managed to get to his mix-ups, he's pretty much reactable, you know, it's way too slow. And that's why I think he really needs something. And the only hero who's, I think, worse than Kensei would be Highlander. Highlander is way too slow for his own good. He doesn't have that much HP, so he can't really play the trading game either. And Hyper Armor kicks so late in his attacks that it's very hard to play the trading game at all. And his attacks are so slow and they don't even deal that much damage. I mean, I'm pretty sure Shaman outdamages him on some aspects. And his crushing counter-strike is alright, very easily baited. His offensive lights would be pretty good, but they deal such low damage. They are telegraphed by going into offensive stance where you cannot block or counter guard break. And also they use a lot of stamina, and Highlander in general uses way too much stamina in offensive stance, man. I mean, he goes into offensive stance, you play the cool mix-up, get one heavy in after all the mix-up, and you're out of stamina. And that really holds him back a lot. So in general, I really think Highlander is the worst hero in the game. That doesn't mean you cannot find a very good Highlander kicking your ass. I did meet an Highlander, I can't remember the name now, but it was amazing, and he did kick my ass. But he did because he just played a way better game than I did that round. So yeah guys, this is my tier list. I think it's gotten darker through me recording this because the sun is setting there, but anyway. This is my tier list, I hope you enjoyed the video. And as I said, do make me sure what you think of this, what would you place differently, if you agree with something, if you disagree with something. And I might have gone over and forgot something essential, like, I don't know, what you look, Lawbringer does have this little trick that makes him so much better than you placed him. Okay, do tell me, and I think it's going to be pretty interesting, but as I said, keep it civil. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you all next time.